In this video, we're going to look at the example we went over in class, which is the running negative campaign ads. And we're going to see what the Nash equilibrium is, what their dominant strategy is for both Republicans and Democrats, as well as the effects on the outcome and the effects on society. In this case, we're going to slow down a little bit more than we did when we were in class, just to kind of get a little bit of a better idea and to slow down a little bit and go over it again. So the scenario that we had was we have Republicans and Democrats, R&D, and every election they have this choice to either run attack ads or not run attack ads, right? And each party gets to make that decision. Oftentimes we see at the beginning of an election they say, oh, I'm going to run a nice clean election, but then they decide not to. We're going to see why that works out the way it does. So the scenario that we have is, right, we have the Republicans and Democrats. If they both decide not to attack, they're each going to get about 10,000 votes, right? Maybe plus or minus one. You can add one to the party you like. You can take one, the party you don't like, right? I'm not going to get into that whole argument. But what we're going to see happen is if I'm a Republican and I decide I'm going to run an attack ad, we're going to see that I can win the election, basically. And same thing, if I'm the Democrat and I decide to run an attack ad, again, I can win this election hands down, because people are going to go away from the other party. And if I'm the Republican and they don't attack, right, I get votes and they lose votes. Similarly, if I'm the Democrat and I attack, I gain votes and the Republican loses votes. And if we have the case where they both attack, you see we both end up with around 8,000 votes. So when analyzing the situation, if I'm the Republican, suppose I know that the Democrat is not going to attack. Right? I know no matter what I do, they won't attack. So in this case, I have a choice between either winning or losing on election night, right, having a close race, or an automatic win with 11,000 votes. In which case, I will take those 11,000 votes because I'm better off attacking. I'd rather win than lose, or I'd rather have a guaranteed win than have a tight race. So I take those 11,000 votes and I attack. Now, if I'm the Republican, I know the Democrat's going to attack. This case, I have a choice between either losing the election and not attacking, or having a close race and attacking, in which case, again, I'm going to attack. Now, if I'm the Democrat, I can analyze this again. I can say, well, if I know that the Republican is not going to attack, I have a choice between either 10 or 11,000 votes, in which case I'm going to take the win. And similarly, if I'm the Democrat and I know that the Republican will attack or run attack ads, I have a choice between either 7 or 8,000 votes, or I have a choice between either losing or having a close race, which I'll take the close race over losing. So again, I will attack. So for both of these situations, remember we're looking for, first thing we kind of look for is that dominant strategy. Right? So remember, when we're thinking about dominant strategy, we either want a row for the Democrats or a column of dots for the Republicans. Right? So for the Democrats, we see that no matter what the Republicans do, they end up attacking. So the dominant strategy for the Democrat is going to be to attack. And similarly for the Republicans, right? No matter what the Democrats do, they're going to be better off to attack, or we have a column of red dots, which case, again, we will attack. So from here, we're asked, what is our Nash equilibrium? In which case, if you think about it, we're looking for a square that has 2 dots, or a situation where we can't become better off by ourselves. Right, so if we're in this upper left-hand corner, right, we see we don't have any dots, but we also see that if I'm the Republican, I can attack and pick up 1,000 votes, or I can attack and win. Whereas if I'm the Democrat, I can attack and pick up 1,000 votes. So this upper left-hand corner is not our Nash equilibrium because we can, if we're either party, we can win automatically. However, if we're in this spot where one party attacks and the other doesn't. So if we're at this spot where the Republicans attack, right, we see the Democrats can go from losing to having an election by switching to attack. So they're going to do that. However, we're in the spot where we're in attack, where both parties are attacking, right, we have these two dots. If the Republicans decide not to attack, they lose the election. Similarly, if the Democrats decide not to attack, they lose the election. So in this case, we'll have Nash equilibrium will be when both parties attack or when both candidates attack. And if you're more of the mathy type, we can say Nash equilibrium at attack, comma, attack. They both mean the same thing, just different ways to write it. So next thing we might be interested in is what is the effect of the outcome after we ran our attack ads. All right, so if we look at this scenario, if we could both cooperate and not run attack ads, right, it comes down to election night, and we each have 10,000 votes come election night. However, when we both run attack ads, we're down to 8,000 votes, but it still comes down to election night, right? We're still at that same. We see that there's not really any impact on the outcome. So for this effect on the outcome, we'll see that there is none. Whoever your +1 was still ends up winning. Right? Whereas if we came up to say this spot where Republicans are attacking, Democrats are not, if I gave the Democrats a +1 here, because that's why maybe we did in this corner, right? If I give them the +1, then they still lose. Similarly, if we're down here by the Republicans where Republicans aren't attacking, if I give the Republicans +1, they still lose if they're the ones that are not attacking. Right? So we see there's no difference. Whoever +1 still ends up winning. In either way, it still works out to be a close election. However, what we might think about, not just the outcome, but what effects do we have on society now? And the big thing that we can see is initially we had 20,000 votes, but now we have 16,000 votes. So as a result of these attack ads, one of the big thing that we can outright see is that we have lower voter turnout. Right? And a part of this is we get the voters who are coming through saying, well, I can't vote for either candidate. I don't trust either one of them. So you get people who are lower. You have this lower voter turnout, and we end up having disenfranchised voters. In addition to this, since we only pay attention to the bad things about the candidate we're not voting for, we also have this next part's a little bit tricky, but we have more and less scrutiny towards the candidate, or towards the winning candidate, we should say. Right? So what I mean by this, we have less scrutiny from the winning party. And what we mean by that is that, right, no matter what if I'm on the winning side, no matter what they do, it's going to be good. So there's less scrutiny from the winning party or the winning people who won. However, from the losing party, we'll actually see just the opposite. So there'll be more scrutiny from the losing party. So in this case, what we're saying is that, right, if I'm on the losing party, right, anything that goes bad, I'm going to say, well, what did you expect? Why'd you vote for the guy that won? You should have voted for my candidate, because if you voted for my candidate, this never would have happened. Right? And we see kind of this divide in terms of scrutiny. And if we're in the winning party, it's even if there is a mistake made, we say, oh, well, they made a mistake, right? Everybody's going to make mistakes. So we have this scrutiny towards our winning candidate. And the last thing that we kind of see is that conversations about politics become more difficult. And the idea of this is we have a lot of people who, since the other candidate is evil, no matter what, it's harder to understand how someone could possibly vote for them because the only thing you pay attention to is the attack ad that your candidate run. So our conversations become more difficult, right? Instead of more of a, so we no longer agree to disagree. But instead go more towards of a how could you vote for this? How could you vote for the other candidate? So how could you vote for blank is the question we begin to ask. So the overarching theme, uh, we're we're gonna see that right. Both candidates have an incentive to attack the other one, and the best thing for our society would be for both to not to attack because right then we could have more conversations. We can focus on the issues more than just what the candidate did, right? More than the dirt that we're able to find on a certain candidate. But what we end up seeing is that if you are a candidate and you decide not to attack, in the end, you're going to end up losing. So you have the incentive to attack. I hope this video was helpful. As always, if you need anything, feel free to let me know. If you wouldn't mind, make sure you subscribe. That way I can get closer to getting that custom URL. And if you want to receive notifications, hit the notification button, and you'll be good to go on that front.